Yeah, I'm super glad to be here with you today. Welcome everybody on Facebook and everybody here in the room. Wow, they've got the heater turned on real good today. Okay. So I'm here today to talk to you about shifting our abundance paradigm. And a paradigm is just, it's a construct. It's beliefs and thoughts and perceptions and concepts that we sort of cobble together, and we build our paradigm that tells us how the world works and what we can respond to and how we can respond to it and be reasonable in our paradigm. We get the parts of our paradigm from the people in our past and in our present that give us information, that we get into situations with. We learn from circumstance. We learn from all of these processes that we go through, and then we adopt our paradigm and we live with it. And depending on what your paradigm might be, you might be considered a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of person. But it's not just about whether your glass is half full or half empty. It's about how you feel about whatever's in your glass. Because one person can look at a glass that's half empty and see something really precious in that little bit that's in there. And the next person can look at that very same glass full of that very same thing and think, ugh. I mean, if your glass happens to be half full of motor oil and you're thirsty, that might be really icky and gross. But if your car's not running and you really, really need it to get it running, then it's a magical, then it's a miracle, then it's exactly the source of your abundance and supply. Our perception, basically, about how abundant we are or are not is based on how we feel about whatever's in our glass. Like if you have a child, any of you that are parents, you know that a child might have a toy that's all scruffy and roughed up and has holes in it and it looks terrible and it's dirty. And someone who comes along and sees that in the street might think, oh, that's garbage. But to that child, it's precious. It's the most important thing in the whole world. That scruffy, roughed up, full of holes, dirty toy is the inspiration for love and abundance, an abundance of joy, an abundance of comfort. That toy is very, very precious. We experience what our subjective paradigm tells us is true. But here's the truth. There's actually no such thing as empty. There's no such thing as lack. No matter what is in what you think is the full part of your glass, the rest of it is full of something. Because we are all made, everything is made of energy. The very same molecules are making up everything, including that which seems invisible, like air. The air is in the rest of the glass. It's not empty. And air can be very precious under the right circumstances. You could be really glad you have that little glass full of air if you're underwater, right? So we have to be aware of what our paradigm is in order to begin to shift it. And most of us are not terribly conscious about what our paradigm is. And I want to tell you a little story about a time that I was not really conscious about my paradigm, although I thought I was being super, super conscious. So back in the day, like way back, it might have been, I don't know, like 20 years ago, we were over at the other CSL building, and Julaine Zeigert, the blessed Julaine Zeigert, she was teaching a course on Wednesday nights. And one Wednesday night, the subject of the course was Arnold Patton's everyday, it's called an ideal day exercise. Okay, and so what Julaine was trying to teach us was that basically people need to get out of the details of the universe. They need to get out of the details of what's happening and just focus on how they feel and let the universe take care of the details. So I was like, yay, I like this. This sounds cool. Okay, so what you were supposed to do, according to Arnold Patton, is decide how you wanted to feel on a given day for your ideal day. and then let the universe take care of the details. So I thought, cool. I was at that point, I was heading a nonprofit professional theater company. So every day was about looking for money. Every day was about were the box office receipts happening, was the grant coming in, blah, 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 right? So when I thought of abundance, I thought of money, and I thought of, okay, I'm going to focus in on wealth and abundance, wealth and abundance, wealth and abundance. That's my word. That's what I want to feel. I want to feel abundant. And what I really meant was I wanted to feel wealthy. I wanted to feel money, right? But I was driving down the road on my way to work the next morning with my abundance decision in my brain, and I was saying it out loud. I am abundant, I am abundant, I am abundant, I am abundant. And I'm driving down the road on State Street, and I get just about to where the West Side Drive-In is on State Street, and come flipping through across the street onto my windshield is a bill of money. Money literally flew through the air and smashed on my windshield. And then the wind, flipped it off and on that little side street that runs right next to the West Side Drive-In. And so me thinking, hey, this is cool, this works great, right? I pull off on that little side street, and I pull off and I get out of my car and I look in the street, and there in the middle of the street is that bill of money. And I start walking toward it with the imaginings of, it's going to be a $100 bill, it could be I go walking over there, and I get a little ways from it, and I notice that it's a $5 bill. And so through my mind goes, it's just a $5 bill. And I go and pick it up. And as I pick it up, from across the other side of State Street, now heading back toward Eagle, is this giant red pickup truck. And this woman hanging out of the pickup truck screaming, you got it, you got it, you got it. Oh my God, you got it, you found it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She jumps out of the truck, runs across State Street. I'm not kidding, this actually happened, you guys. I know it sounds crazy, but this actually happened to me. This lady runs across all the lanes of State Street, comes over to me, and she's like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't believe you got it. That's my last $5 in the world. I was like, here. And she started into this story of how she'd been looking at it, holding it up, talking to the person driving the truck about this $5 and it being her last $5 in the world, how excited she was. And she's going through it, and as she's telling me this story about how it got blown out of her hand and she thought it was gone forever, the truck that was driving her pulls away. And I was like, your ride's leaving. She's like, yeah, he's mad that I made him come back, so I think he just left me. And I said, well, where are you heading? Maybe I can give you a ride. I'm on my way to work. She goes, I'm heading to 6th and Main. Well, at the time, I was the artistic director of the New Heritage Theater Company, whose offices were at 6th and Main. Yeah, I kid you not, this actually happened. So, as we're driving downtown, this woman is telling me all about her life and all about everything that has happened to her. And she's estranged from her kids, and she's da-da-da-da-da. She doesn't have a place to live. She doesn't know what she's going to do. She doesn't know what she was going to do. She was headed downtown with her last $5 in the world. And we get down, and we pull into the little parking lot at the Pioneer Building, and I pull into my assigned parking space, and she is just stunned that there is such a thing as assigned parking spaces for human beings. And she gets out of the car, and she thanks me, and she thanks me, and she thanks me. And as she's walking away, I'm standing there, and I'm thinking two things. One, okay, I get it, universe. I feel abundant. Not just about money. Not just about, what do I have materially, but she was estranged from her family. I have beautiful daughters, an abundance of them. I have this wonderful home. I have a wonderful job. I have my car. I have my assigned parking space. I have all this stuff, and I felt abundant. And the other thing I felt, the other thing I was thinking about, was I felt really ashamed that when I was walking toward that $5, my reaction was, it's just $5. I was seeing it as somebody had put only a little bit in my glass. The universe made that magic $5 fly across the street, but couldn't they have used 100, right? So Abundance is a state of mind. It's an attitude. And if we want to shift our paradigm, and we've all got them, we've all got those paradigms, and they're usually about lack, we have to choose to change it. We have to make a choice. And the way that we shift our paradigm is to choose to go into a practice of gratitude. Because abundance is an attitude, and an attitude of gratitude is the road to that abundance, right? When I was a kid, whenever I would be complaining, whenever something would go wrong, and I'd be like, ugh, my mom would do the same thing every time. She'd say, well, count your blessings. And those of you that know my mom, who is no longer with us, but Maria's Nana, used to say all the time, count your blessings. Now, she did not just say count your blessings, because not my mother. No, she would make me sit down and literally count my blessings. And it changed the circumstance every time. And without making any metaphysical hooey about it, she was teaching me a practice. She was teaching me a spiritual practice. She was teaching me that when something is presented to me and I don't like it, what I need to do is shift my focus to what I am grateful for, and it will shift the entire circumstance. Because I'll tell you something that is magical about gratitude. The amount of gratitude that you experience in your life is directly proportional to the amount of abundance that you experience in your life. And a lot of people think that the abundance comes first and then I'll be grateful. Trust me, it's the other way around. And then, once you've known, oh, you know what? I just realized that Maya's in the back. I just want to share this one little other story, is that there is a practice of gratitude that I call radical gratitude. And I started practicing radical gratitude to kind of get me over any big humps. And radical gratitude is this. Radical gratitude is something is going horribly wrong, so I'm just going to put my eyes on the first thing I can see and be grateful for it. So I'm really grateful for that chair. I wonder who invented that chair. Whoever it is that invented chairs, I am so grateful that they had that thought and that they acted on it. And I'm so grateful that there's material that's so pretty that covers the chair. And I'm grateful for the things that are sitting on the chair, and I'm grateful that the chair doesn't fall in when I sit on the chair, etc. Well, the reason that Maya inspired that in me is because one day Maya and I were preparing for a party at my house, and as we were preparing, we went to cook all this food, and she was doing all this baking, and we're getting all ready, and she goes to run some water, and there is no such thing as hot water in my house. And I've got tons of people coming over, and tons of things that they're expecting, and tons of things that she and I are expecting to do. We can't get, the repairman comes over, he can't fix the water heater. We can't do anything. We are boiling our water. We're stone knives and bear skinning it through our big, gigantic dinner. And what we did in that moment is we started playing the radical gratitude game all around the kitchen. We found all the things that we were happy for. We had the most fun for the next 4 hours. Instead of panicking, we played the whole time. And when everybody got there and the party started, nobody knew the whole time that there was no hot water in that house. Nobody knew it. It never came up at the party. Nobody went to look at the water heater and see what was wrong. Nobody worried about whether or not I was going to be able to get it repaired because it was the weekend, anything. It never came up. It was a non-issue because we just went ahead with what we wanted to create in that moment. So that leads us to what you do with what you're grateful for, what you're feeling you're in abundance for. What the next step of the practice is to choose to do the next thing my mom always said, which is whenever you had something, good, bad, or indifferent, she'd say, well, you better make the most of it. You better make the most of it. So it's not just what you think or feel. It's not just feeling abundant or feeling gratitude or having your thing or gathering your stuff, but now what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? If we just acquire, if we just get stuff, then it becomes non-abundance. It becomes a reaction to a perception in our paradigm of lack. If we're just gathering the stuff we think we need and the stuff we're excited that we got and we keep it, then it becomes a symbol of lack. It doesn't become a symbol of abundance. How many people do you know whose glass is literally overflowing and it's not enough? It's because their paradigm, regardless of how much they have, is still set to lack. So they're not thinking about what can they do with it. If you feel something is lacking in your life, you want to know what to do? Give that thing to someone else. Joe mentioned I'm a songwriter. Those of you that know me know that I write songs about those things that I think, right? And my kids like to say that my songs are kind of every lecture I ever gave them all smushed into the songs. And I quote my songs a lot to my children. I'm like, and they can sing them back to me. It's really fun. But the song that was quoted the most in our household as the kids were growing up, the single song that I have quoted probably every day to one child or another, is not mine. It's a song of Pat McDonald's, and it's these lyrics right here. If you need love, give love. If you need friends, learn to be a friend. And if it's happiness you want, make someone happy. Trust me, it works great with the kids. They can sing it to themselves. They remember what to do when they're complaining about stuff. It's the most brilliant, 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 concise. That's what you do. That's how you make the most of it. You give what you most want to receive. In giving, we receive. That's not just poetry. That's a fact. And I'm going to share this last secret with you. We actually don't receive abundance. Because abundance flows through us, not to us. Abundance isn't a certain amount of things. It's not a certain place you get to. Abundance is a frequency you tune into so that you can be the catalyst for greater abundance in the world. You are a channel. Every single human is a spiritual being. Pure, unbounded potential. We live in a boundless universe of pure potentiality, pure energy, and all that it needs in order to create great abundance and beauty and joy and happiness is for us to be the channel of that. Our words, our thoughts, and our beliefs create our world. And they help to create the paradigm and the world of those around us. It is never that abundance is lacking. It's our perspective and our willingness to offer abundance that might be lacking. But that which we choose to recognize multiplies. Abundance does not change. It's here. This room is full. It might look kind of empty, but there is invisible energy there. It wasn't that long ago in human history that we didn't know that electricity existed. Now, none of us are the slightest little bit impressed that the lights came on in this room, right? We're not surprised. We don't feel abundant every time we flip a light switch, but maybe we should. And we would notice that that invisible does not make it any less valuable. Abundance comes through you, and the amount of abundance that comes through you never changes. It's not quantity, It's about quality. We choose the quality. We choose the frequency. We choose the abundance that we wish to channel into the world. And I will just say this one last thing to you. Your glass is always full. Practice perceiving it. Appreciate it. Make the most of it. Namaste.